Hi my little Bucksters, I'm Joseph Benavides, an editor with Buck Off Magazine, and today we're trying something new. Instead of having a blog post, we're going to do a video post, so let's hope this works out really well. And that little song was totally random and so not well thought out. Anyways, so today's blog post is about what happens to a community when a gallery closes. So backstory, I live in Gardner, Massachusetts, and this is not an art hub. Artists don't come to Gardner, and if anyone in the Gardner area becomes an artist, they leave and they go to Boston or New York or San Francisco, and this isn't a place to celebrate art. It's kind of a sad fact of life for Gardner, but we're not an art community. We're not art friendly, not really. That all changed 3 years ago when the Gardner Area League of Artists, who call themselves GALA for short, as their acronym, they opened up a gallery 2.5 years ago, and it was the first gallery that's ever been in Gardner during my lifetime. So it was a really big event. It was a chance for artists to come together, to share their work, to inspire one another, to display their talents and their skills. And I was actually pretty floored with some of the skills and pieces that my neighbors contributed to the gallery. I went to 2 shows. One was a Best in Show contest, and there were pieces that ranged the artistic talent from everywhere. There was photographs that reminded me of Ansel Adams' works. There was paintings that were right up there with Georgia O'Keeffe. There was things that just, you stare at them and you have that emotional connection with the painting. And it's something that when that art is about, that connecting with art and feeling it. And so to have my neighbors do that, it was an eye-opener for me, and it really made me see, like, oh, there are talented people in this area who just don't show off their work all that much. The second show I went to was 3 artists who were older men who had gray beards, and they called themselves the 3 Gray Beard Artists. Yes, 3 Gray Beard Artists. And that was all really good. The pieces were all very similar in tones and textures, but again, like, wide range of talent, a wide range of pieces, but everything, it was connectable, and it was something that I would stare at the pieces and I fell in love with them, and some of them were done with such amazing skill that I can't believe that someone who lives a town over from me did this, and I haven't heard of them before. But as I said, this blog post is about when a gallery closes and how that affects the community. So backstory for GALA is that they might not have done enough PR, maybe not enough marketing, maybe they didn't get enough interest, maybe there wasn't enough interest to get to begin with. But this summer that just passed, they closed down the gallery and they announced that it was a good run, but they're done. And so with them leaving, it takes away opportunities from local artists. I've said this before and I'll say it again, but you can't create art by yourself. You need to be in a community. Writers, we have editors, we have friends that we shoot ideas with. We have someone who reads over our work and they point out, like, oh hey, like, you use the adjective blue a lot, maybe you should change it to sky blue, ocean blue, cerulean, green, blue, like aquamarine. Like, the spectrum of blues are so wide that sometimes as a writer we kind of like lock ourselves in blue, and we have that community to find more. The same can be said of artists. You need someone to review your painting. You need someone to see the work you're doing and say, oh hey, like, this is really great, but I'm wondering why you did this instead of that, or I'm wondering if you could have been a little bit more forceful in your brushstrokes to make the painting really have that textured feel. You also need supporters and people to just cheer you on. You can't create your art and then just keep it to yourself, because then you're never going to find satisfaction in sharing your art. You have to have that community aspect built into it. And GALA did that for artists in the area. They had the community. They had something where you could meet other artists and share ideas and learn from someone. So with them leaving, it created this void in town of, we have these artists now, but they have no way of connecting with other artists. They have no way of sharing things. And there are some studios in town. There are a couple other artists that have gotten together, like 2 or 3 or 4 of them have gotten into one group and they work together. But that's very different from a gallery that gets the public invested and the public interest in it. The entertainment industry is one of the hardest to break into, and part of that is opportunities and experiences. You don't just get on a bus and go to Hollywood or go to New York and boom, you're a famous artist. You have to work on your craft. And if you can't do that in your local environment while you're working on yourself, or if you're working on a job that pays for you to do your craft, you're never going to get the chance and the opportunities to go out and explore and have the bigger moments. And so that's the really crushing blow to Gardner, is not that GALA closed, it's that this whole section of opportunities, this whole chance for young artists growing up, older artists getting into their craft. It's gone, that void that I said. So that was really a crushing moment for me that made me stop and say, oh wow, like I can't believe this happened to my community. And for me as a writer, I turn to the internet and I share my pieces online and I share my stuff with the readers and I love you guys for that. But there's also moments when I need to be able to connect with the people in my town, because if something's going on, I need to be able to call someone instantly and just like, oh, I need help with this, or like, oh, I have a great idea. And so losing that opportunity for a writer for me was really, it was just a moment I was like, wow, I can't believe this happened, and I'm so surprised. Another thing that I really wanted to talk about with the gala closing is that art is part of humanity, is that humans have this desire to make art and to create things and to share pieces and to get invested and involved with one another. And so with gala closing, I feel like it's a little bit dramatic, but it's also very accurate to say that Gardner lost a chunk of her humanity to this. If we can't invest in art and we can't invest in growing in ourselves and sharing emotions and that connections that people make through art and dialogues that are created through that cultural aspect, Gardner is hindered and it's limited. So I think a really important part that any artist should consider is going to your local gallery, going to local shows, and maybe if you don't want to put in a piece, talking to the artists that do have pieces there. If you do want to contribute pieces, definitely talk with gallery owners, see what you can be done for that. But being an artist citizen is getting involved and getting invested, and sometimes getting involved and getting invested means paying a little bit forward with it. If you have some spare change, or if you have like a moment, make a date night out of it, or make a group hangout stuff. Sometimes it's really great to go into a gallery, see pieces, and like comment on them and think like, wow, like this is so great. But I wanted to leave it open up to you guys. What are the local galleries in your area, and have you gone to them? And has anyone else kind of had that moment where in a gallery or an artistic opportunity got closed down because of funding, or people had left and there wasn't an opportunity, there wasn't investment in it? And how did that affect you as an artist and as a writer? Leave a comment to let us know, and if you have ideas for future video posts, leave a comment for that as well. We are going to experiment with this on and off, and if this comes out really well, we'll continue it more regularly, and if it's not, we'll mark it down as adventure and move on to the next great thing. Alright, back off.